Well, back to the laser blast gun. You'll notice something. This is a film can. This is a 16mm film can, a 400-foot mag roll, and Paul Gentry found 2 of them and one 35mm one. So I have this one too. These are very old. You can see Paul Gentry on them. Hollywood Film Enterprises. I remember these guys. Used to send our dailies to them. Anyway, and I put it on there temporarily to see, and it actually was put on upside down. I used this side, and I temporarily taped it on. That is where we left off last. Now, I did say that I was going to fiberglass this piece here, so, and we are indeed going to do that. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove this. Just taped on. We're going to work on that later. But what I want to do is I want to glass this because it's kind of anemic and weak, and I'll be able to work on it better and groom it better and do all the things I really want to do to it. Much easier if I fiberglass it. It'll be nice and strong. So I'm going to lay down some nice brown paper there, and then we'll come back. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. So I'm going to probably start with this area here. Does this part go all the way around? Of course it doesn't. That would have been too easy. So, and nothing's too easy in this world. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of fiberglass here. And this is just a 5-ounce fiberglass cloth. I want this to be nice and strong. I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to put this strip over the top of it. That should do that pretty well. And then this is for the barrel, which I'm going to put on there. So the only problem I have is that this is going to get messy. I guess I'm going to do it like this. Put this on some plastic and then build it up this way. So I'm going to put it on some plastic. It won't stick to the paper that way. Fiberglassing stuff really is no big deal. A lot of you have asked me in the past, why don't you use polyester resin? Have you ever smelled polyester resin? I mean, yeah, you can get 5 gallons for like $100, and epoxy is more like $150 with the kicker for a gallon. It's much more expensive, but it's also better. It's not brittle like polyester resin is. The next day when it's cured, it's not tacky at all. It's dry completely. It sands beautiful. I'm talking tomorrow morning, this will be ready to sand and fill. I've never known polyester resin to do that. So either I'm working with it wrong, but even at that, even if it is cheaper, even if I am working with it wrong, it stinks. It will smell in this building of it no matter what I do for the next week or more. So I'm using my trusty scale here, which you should always cover with something so they don't get messy. That's happened many times here at the studio. People don't do that, and my scale ends up looking, well, I have one around. Oh no, George threw it out. He hated it so much. I don't blame him. I hated it too. So I'm gonna, let's see. We're gonna do 50 grams. That should be enough, I think. So we do 50 grams. Apparently that's going to be 70 grams. Okay. Come on, 69, close enough. Then we're going to put the hardener in. This is the fast hardener. You can, with West Systems, you can get a normal hardener that will take, you know, X amount of hours. This stuff goes off rather quickly, but it's not completely set up till the next day. So we got 70 here, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. See how easy that is? So we want, minus the garbage, we want 82. So here we go. Pretty easy. And I can actually eyeball it. I know when it looks right. And you can go a little over and you're okay. So there it is. There's our wonderful epoxy. Just making sure it's really round. It could be a problem later. I think it is. Not that I know what to do about it at this point. Oh. So when I get this all over, it will not go off as quickly. I have more working time, and I'll be able to attach the resin more easily. Not the resin, I'm sorry, the cloth. I'm going to kind of slide that up there. You can see it already starting to soak through. With this stuff, it's kind of dense, so if you try to soak this through from the outside, you're going to get really frustrated. You're not going to be able to do it. And that was pretty good. And I can still slide it around and stuff right to the edge, which is where I want it. Now I'm going to put some more over it. And it starts to soak in really good. But once you get it all on, and then you can kind of keep your eye on it as it slowly but surely goes off, and push things down that are coming up and all that kind of stuff. It's very flexible. Oh, God. Another hairball. You know. Now, when this stuff goes off in the cup, if you overlook it, it will get very hot and flames and steam. Well, no, sometimes flames. No, that's polyester resin. You will get fumes coming out of it. You'll see smoke coming out of it. It gets really hot because it is, after all, an exothermic kind of reaction. So I did pretty good at guessing. Well, I said 50, didn't I? And ended up with what was it, 70? So, but that was turned out to be, thankfully, just the right amount. Although I don't have enough to soak the cloth, so I will have to make up some more. All right, so we are going to have to make up some more. I'm going to make up some more, and then when I come back, we'll add this, and then dart and taper and smush and whoosh. And when it gets to the tacky stage, we'll come back and I'll show you how you can kind of press it all down. And it's hard to imagine how this messy, gooey thing is going to look like anything. But if you take a look at this right here, this beautiful thing here is my glider body, which was done exactly the same way. And you can see how smooth and beautiful it is. And soon it'll be like a car body, and I'll be able to put a nice glossy white paint job. So we'll be back in a minute with more fun with goo. So here we go, one more time. And I'm gonna try to, he thinks, get this all on in one shot. I'm so funny, I make myself laugh. See how that's going down rather splendidly as he goes and gets a Kleenex for his nose again. Okay, of course my nose never runs except when I'm shooting in front of all of you. I'm sure there's a lot of debate about it, but I have allergy problems. And for the life of me, I don't know why, because I never used to have them. But recently, in the last 5 years, they've developed, and they are annoying at best. So, what I'm doing is I'm farting and darting as I go along here, and it is gooey and messy and awful, and somebody has to do it. So, why not us? I say us because I know you're all going to be doing this for some kind of project, and try not to get it in your hair. Most unpleasant. Well, continue on with the darting and farting here. I won't fart, don't worry. Although you might find it amusing. So far so good, he says, knowingly. I don't normally just, bore you to death showing you how to lay fiberglass on, but, I think part of the reason that you watch these videos is you might pick up something you haven't seen done before, and so that's why I elected to do this rather than come back later and say, look, I fiberglassed it. Isn't it wonderful? Well, how would you fiberglass? Now, technically speaking, this isn't fiberglassing. We're using fiberglass cloth, and we're using a epoxy resin. So, okay, so that pretty much covers the whole thing, and you got to see it all happen right here live at SNG Studios. Steve make an ugly fiberglass coating on a bunch of styrene, which eventually will resemble the laser blast gun. So you can see I've got air pockets here, which I need to address. That's what razor blades and straight edges are for, because you can go through and dart those and push and flatten. But it has to has to go off first a bit, and then I can do that and get rid of these air pockets and stuff. I ended up making too much of this resin up, but not much. I hardly wasted any for this. And just to be sure, oh, in fact, you know what? It probably wouldn't hurt to knock it over. No, here we go. To put some up here. So that was close. All right, I just trim this off right flush like so. These scissors will never play the guitar again after this. Okay. For all you Faulty Towers fans, touch that and you'll never play the guitar again. Poor old Manuel. Okay. So we're going to put that in here like this. Put that there like so. Now we're going to have a very strong gun, and it's very flexible right now because the styrene's thin, and the reason I use thin styrene is because obviously I can bend it and roll it into itself and do big shapes out of it much easier, but it's not hardy enough to manhandle, so that's why we're doing this. Now it is structurally sound, more or less. So we'll come back in a little while and we'll take a look at this after it's set up a bit and push some of the stuff that's bubbly sticking up, because I don't like doing bubbly. I don't do bubbly, as Jessica Jones so well pointed out. So we will see you in a little bit. I'm going to get this off my hands. So remember I told you how this would set up? I must have mixed it just right, because it never did produce smoke and stuff, and that's how fast that stuff, it could even pop out of there. No, it won't, but you can see it's hard, and that's with the fast catalyst. And it's a bit amber colored, but you know, if you're not trying to get something clear, it's okay. Newer catalyst would have helped, but it's still fine. I know, I keep doing that, it's fun. So that's set up, but you'll notice that here, and actually I'm going to take this back. This will come in handy. No, actually, I'm going to get a new one. Sorry, I'm fickle today. Sue me. Wrong kind, but oh well. I'm going to take a little bit of alcohol, which is epoxy's best friend. It's good for cleaning it off your hands. It's good for smoothing epoxy. Now, you'll notice that as hard as it is in that container, it isn't here. And that's because there's not, when you have a lot of volume and it's compacted on top of itself and the exothermic process begins, it generates internal heat and it gets hotter and hotter, and that heat speeds up the process of it getting hard. So when it's thin like this, it can't do it as quickly. So it gives you a chance to go around and push things down like that. If you've noticed that a little bit of alcohol in this, because alcohol, after all, does help everything. At least that's what some people tell me. So I can go around now. The reason this is over here is because it started to fall off of this and right onto the Discovery, which we will be getting back to soon, I promise. But I'm one guy trying to do a multitude of projects, so. Anyway, you see how it just sort of presses everything down and flattens it out, and then there'll be some areas that I need to dart there. This is now the leaning tower of laser blasts. So I can, like, there's a pocket here, so I can kind of go in there like this, open it up, get the air out of there, and press it down. There's another one right here. They don't really matter, but just showing you what you can do to, if you're doing something like this and you really want it to be really flat and perfect, and with the alcohol, it allows you to, it won't stick to you as much and you can really smooth it down. So I'm not going to worry about that there. This whole thing's going to get puttied with Evercoat glazing putty, and then that'll get sanded down. First of all, I'll do tomorrow is we're going to sand this down, the raw fiberglass and epoxy, and you'll see there's a big Gapus Renapus right there. And we're going to do that, and then after that's done, then we're going to put some glazing putty on it. And that glazing putty will help smooth everything over, and then we'll sand that again, and then we'll sand it again and again and again and again until we get something that looks pretty darn smooth. This is about as good as it needs to be. You can see that this stuff's not even moving now because that was the first batch, and that's tacking off pretty good. So I think we're good here. This slid a bit, it looks like up here. It's really going off good now. So I think we're going to be really, really good with this. I'm very pleased. Now, I want to make sure it's not going to fall over. I think it'll stay now because it's getting kind of sticky. Okay, so I want to show you this. This is a canopy form, and what's going to basically happen with this is going to be sanded really smooth as I can. This will get fiberglassed. This will have the same process as this, and then I'll make a mold on it and make a buck, either out of resin or stone or plaster, and put it on the vacuum form and make a clear plastic canopy. Why this relates to this is because this originally was built out of balsa wood, and then it was glassed the same way. And the glass was not very good glass. It had ripples in it. I couldn't get it to go flat, but I sanded it and glassed it a little bit more, and then using the putty, smoothed it out, and I'm going to smooth it out a little bit more. I put more primer on it and smooth it out, smooth it out, smooth it out, till it really gets nice and glassy the way it's getting now. I mean, it'll even shine by buffing up the primer, and it's very strong. This is not balsa that's going to tweak or twist or anything. And that was using 1/4 ounce fiberglass cloth and resin. And we got very, very structurally sound and very smooth surface. So that is how this is going to be done, the same way, and we'll get a really nice smooth surface on this, and then we'll be able to make a mold on it. So tomorrow we'll come back and we'll sand this and have fun with putty and smooth it out and primer, and it'll start to look really cool and really neat, and it'll be our first buck, our first part to mold for this project. I'm enjoying this. Can you tell? Yeah. Hi everyone, we're back with the laser blast gun, and remember how weak and crunchy that plastic was now? That's how good, and look at that, it's not sticky at all. It does tear right through gloves because I haven't sanded it down yet, but this stuff is completely set up. And what I'm going to do is take off some of the stuff that's going to cut up my gloves and stuff right away with the sander. You can see how fast it sands this stuff down. This is polyester resin. It'd be all gummed up by now and sticky. And as they say, you get what you pay for. So now it's not sticking me anymore, and it's pretty smooth just for doing it with that. I can do the rest by hand. And again, you can see how quickly sandpaper takes this stuff down, and there's really no clogging. See? You know what clogging is if you're used to sanding resins. Even though they were allegedly cured all the way, they don't seem to do that. So this stuff really sands beautifully. I've tried other epoxies. They all sand pretty well, but this stuff really is quite amazing. So So I'll basically go over this whole thing, get rid of all the stuff that didn't get rid of. And remember that 90% of this is all covered up with parts. So, you know, I'm going to get it so-so, and then we're going to make a mold on it, because really, you're not going to see a lot of this rough stuff. But there'll be some of it. So, so I got to try to get as smooth as I can. Now, I can only get so good with just doing the sandpaper, and then we're going to move over and use the glazing putty and start using that, and you'll see how that smooths everything over. It doesn't create a huge amount of dust, which is what I like too, for some reason. You just want to get everything pretty flat. I just felt something trying to grab me right there. There's some sharp stuff still. Really annoying. You see how shiny it is there? And then I'll do that, and the shine goes away because it sands that quickly. I cannot sing the praises of this weft system's epoxy enough. It really is something. So we're going to just kind of basically do some of that and just get as flat as we can. And we've got a film can that goes here. We've got the sides of plastic that come up all the way to here. It completely covers this under structure. And but I'm going to show you next what I do with the Evercoat and how that really smooths it out without having to do a lot more sanding. So I'm using, since it's difficult to get Evercoat metal glaze up here, I do have Evercoat Formula 47 all-purpose filler for boats. It's even waterproof. It's very similar and works pretty much the same way. It's just not blue. And of course, they never give you enough catalyst with it. I mean, because you kind of tend to overuse it. There's no way to precisely measure it. So, as it turns out, a catalyst for polyester resin are all created equal. This is for Bondo, and you can get these extra big ones for Bondo at the local dealer, not dealer, auto parts store, yes. One of those. So I use about that much for this much. So it's a nice pink. That gives me a little bit of working time with it. It's just like Bondo, and the reason I don't use Bondo, and I probably have mentioned this before, that is that Bondo, I don't know what the deal is with Bondo, but it just gets so hard to sand, and this stuff isn't. This stuff sands really, really nice, and it's got a nice gel period where you can take razor blades or a sharp X-Acto blade, and you can carve it before it gets completely hard into a shape that you want, remove most of the stuff you don't want, and then sand. And you really can't do that with Bondo. Bondo kicks off in a very odd sort of way. So what I'm going to do is show you how we can, well, let's see. This is a real bad area right here. I'm just going to put some on there. Like so. And spread it out a little bit. It's not like we're building an airplane, we worry about weight. And I'm going to just kind of curve it like that, so it curves to its... And there you go. All that stuff's filled in. So, and like this up here, we can get real easily. And this does stink. This stuff does smell like polyester resin, because that's exactly what it is. But it's fairly inexpensive. I mean, it's like $30 for one of these. It's a little cheaper than the metal glaze. And it does the job really well. It saves your arm from sanding all this stuff down when you really don't need to. You see, because I've already sanded flat and level all the lumps and stuff. It just leaves the valley. So now when I sand this again, it's going to be really smooth and round and what we want exactly. So that's basically what we have to do to this entire thing. Now here we're not so bad, which is going to take a while, so I'm not going to show you all of it, but you get the idea how this works. And it works very well. And if there's a hole there, you can just fill it in, and that's what you can be very sloppy with how you lay your glass work on and stuff to a degree, especially if you're in a hurry like I always am, and just smooth it out this way. It works really well. And then eventually, after this is all sanded down and we primer it, then we'll fill it with the air cure putty, spot putty, and then get the big stuff or the finer stuff and do that a couple of times until it's really nice. You've seen me do this before. That's how that glider body got made. That's how the Enterprise got made. Lots of other stuff. So I'm almost out of product here. I want to do enough of an area so you could see how well that works. So that's just going to sand down beautifully and be all nice and starting to kick off now. So once I sand that down, that surface will all be smooth and even. So as you can see, this is filling this in and really contouring it very well. And once I finish completely sanding this down, it's going to be so smooth and nice. I'm very happy with it. But that's, you know, what happens when you use the Evercoat metal glaze or any kind of other kind of glazing putty. Really cool. I like it. It's nice and strong too. So we will come back, well, this is Friday, so we will come back Monday and of course do more of this and do the primer work and then the spot putty until we get this all nice and perfect and beautiful. And of course the next step will be to make a mold. So we'll see you next Monday, and thanks for watching along part 2 of recreating the laser glass gun that I made 40 years ago.